Shadow the World Guide / review. Here we are, the first video in this series of doing a guide and review. I've been using this stand a lot, and when I mean a lot, I mean loads. I honestly can't get enough of playing this stand. It's really fun. Because I've used this stand a lot in and out of testing, I want to use my knowledge of how to use this stand in one place. So here we go. This is most likely going to become a series for multiple stands to come, so stay tuned for that. And what a good way to start this series with one of the newest stands, Shadow the World. If you want to know how to obtain this stand, I've made a video on it myself, how fast can you get Shadow the World. But if you want a quicker video on how to get it, you can either watch Plaz or Anthony's video, which both of them cover how to get it fast. So I'll let that decision be up to you. And one more thing before we get into the moveset, if you like these videos and you want me to keep making more, subscribe and like. It's free and, you know, might as well say it because it works. So, with all of that out of the way, let's move on to the moveset. Before we talk about the active moves, something I do want to mention is that the stand goes invisible after summoning. So a way to know if you have the stand out is by looking at the pose, the aura, and by the trail by your feet. So with that out of the way, let's move on to the moves. Shadow the World's M1s are fast. They deal 9 damage on each hit, which is 13.5 on each crit, and they have a large range, slightly bigger than humanoid stands, making them the best M1s in the game. Stand combo deals 6.4 damage 4 times in a row, amounting to 25.2 damage in total. Some things to note about this move is that it replaces your usual stand barrage, as this move is bound on the E key. You can use this move during stun, just like stand barrage, and you can move stack during this move. So while it's up, you can use knives, chop, and any other spec moves. Also, if this sounds too strong, it knocks back the enemy quite a bit, so you've got to catch up to them. This move is also blockable. Heavy Chop. This move acts as chop, like the YBA's, King Crimson's, and D4C's. However, it doesn't bleed and it doesn't have hyper armor. It's also blockable. So with all that in mind, it's just a weaker chop. This move also replaces the usual barrage finisher. Knife Barrage. Shoots 5 knives, dealing 4.8 damage each, amounting to 24 damage in total if all the knives land. This move has a bit of wind up, but it has hyper armor, which means if you hit during the move, it still happens. This move also bleeds, which acts as an anti-heal, meaning you can't pose and recover HP as fast. It's blockable. Also, something to note is that this move has a different cooldown and time stop, but I'll cover that when we get there. Charisma. It's a counter that deals 32.2 damage if landed, with bleed. Something to note is that this counter isn't frame 1 and has a tiny bit of wind up, which means you can get stunned and get cancelled. Punishment. It's a move that pushes the enemy away, dealing 30 damage, with bleed if you get the upgrade in the skill tree. There's also another upgrade in the skill tree that makes it deal more damage to someone if they're under half HP. It goes from 30 damage to 42.5 damage. This move has no hyper armor and it's blockable. Time Skip. Acts as any other time skip. It teleports you to wherever your cursor is with a limited range. Not really much to say about this move. Time Switch. Now this one is different. It's like a time skip, but you have to use it on a person near you for it to function. This move swaps you both around and makes you face each other. But other than that, it works exactly like a time skip. Something to note is that you can use some moves at the same time as Time Switch. And finally, what the world is known for, Time Stop. This move works slightly different to any other time stop in the game. It has a way faster wind up, like almost instant, and it has 0 upgrades, so it's very short. But to make up for this, if you have your knives off cooldown, they have practically 0 cooldown, which means that this is a very easy way to get the 40% time stop cap. The cooldown for this time stop is also way shorter than any other time stop, it's only 30 seconds. Shadow the World also has 2 passives, one of which is the lower knife cooldown in time stop, which is the one I just mentioned, and the other one it has is Unrivaled Power, which is the same passive called Tough Spirit that Anubis and Red Hot Chili Pepper has. where any ability that stand crashes doesn't remove your stand. So your stand is permanently out. Okay, and that's it for the moveset. Sorry if it was a big info dump. So as this video gets older, the damage numbers, values, properties and such are probably all going to change with time. So if the damage numbers look different from the time you're watching, that's probably why. Now finally, on to how to use this properly. The most optimal way to use the stand is kind of strange, mainly because if you don't use it in a traditional way of using a stand. Because you don't have a stand barrage, you can actually get away with using stand combo a lot more, but beware because of a lot of people are just going to try and barrage you, because of they don't really see that you have a barrage. You can wait for them to use their barrage, or you can get away with trying to use your stand combo early to try and get a combo. Other than that, something I want to reiterate, use your time stop as often as you can. If they have time stop resistance, don't bother, because if they can move throughout the whole thing. But if they don't have time stop resistance, just use it as much as you can. Something to note as well is that if you have your knives off cooldown, that's the best time to use time stop. Because of the insanely fast wind up, you can get away with using it whenever. But try and have knives off cooldown so that way you can spam them in it, because of that is a really easy way to get the 40% damage count. Something as well is to try and get into as many M1 trades as you can, because of Shadow of the World is quite new and people don't really know the optimal way to fight it, so try and get away with using as many as you can. Now if you're playing main game or anything that isn't 1v1s, run Shadow of the World with GER, because of Return to Zero and the time stop are literally the same cooldown. There's like a 5-second difference maybe. So you can easily put people in the cutscene and combo them. I mean, that's what me and Anthony were doing a lot in main game. It was really funny. Also as well, a true combo as I'm writing this is stand combo, knives, and punishment. This deals, honestly, an insane amount of damage, especially if they're under half, because obviously punishment does more if they're below half. Something as well to mention is your counter. Don't mash it during stun, mainly because of it's easily cancelable because it isn't frame 1. So wait for a move that has slightly longer wind-ups, that way you can easily press it and get value out of using it. Something as well I want to mention is keep the pressure up with Shadow of the World. People can easily overpower you and like stress you out if they're constantly on you. So you need to be aggressive with this stand. Use M1s, try and use stand combo, use knives, use time stop, use whatever it takes. You need to be aggressive with this, otherwise people can very easily overpower you. A lot of Shadow of the World's moves bleed, so try and get bleed up as much as you can because it acts as an anti-heal. And like I said earlier, anti-heal is very, very strong because it makes it so their posing is really weak, and if they have a heal, it heals them way less because it's healing the bleed. Also as well, a lot of people are just going to hold F against you because of Shadow of the World has no built-in block break. Your specs kind of carry you for that. So don't stress out if people are just holding F against you, just back up and try again. If people are going to keep holding F, try and switch up what you do. Don't just like do the same combo over and over and over because people are obviously just going to predict it and hold F. If playing aggressive doesn't work, don't worry, you can just bait and wait. You are allowed to play slow, wait for your counter to be used properly, use stand combo when they barrage, use punishment when they F up their move. Something as well to mention is that if they are a time stop stand, you can use your time stop to counter their time stop because of your wind up is way faster. I personally haven't done this too much, mainly because I forget, but I've seen a few people use it and it does seem to work. Obviously, as this video gets older, that might get patched out, but as of writing this video, it seems to work, so I guess use it. Also, none of your moves have hyper armor other than your knives. If you're getting mashed in M1s or stun and you need a way out, you can just use knives as it does work. It does have a tiny wind up, but it can get you out. Also, it applies bleed, so there's that. You can use heavy chop during your stand combo, but sometimes it's best to use another move depending on what spec you have. But it is there as an extra thing, which is nice. You can also use it in time stop if you don't have your knives off cooldown, as it deals a good bit of damage. Time skip you can use to get out of some combos if you're fast enough and have decent ping. But other than that, you can use it just to get around, you know, get away from people, get closer to people. It's just a time skip, you know, the same as every other thing. And then the alternate one is time switch. You can use that sometimes to get out of stuff, or if you're playing with friends, you can swap with your friend to get them out of a combo. It's really situational and it's a bit of a strange move, but it's something nice and kind of unexpected. Just get creative with it, have fun with it. And the final thing I'm going to mention is don't forget about your passive, which makes it so your stand can't be desummoned. I remember when I first started playing this stand, I always used to try and resummon my stand after a stand crash, but I would accidentally desummon my stand because it never actually got desummoned. So just don't forget that, but obviously that's something that will come with you playing the stand a lot more. And that's it. I know there's probably more I could have spoken about, but obviously you can just talk on and on and on about something, and I kind of want to keep it short and concise. So now we're going to move on to how to play against this stand. So to play against this stand, it's kind of tricky. If you don't have time stop resistance, you're kind of screwed. Mainly because of TS is only on a 30-second cooldown and it can just spam knives and M1s and any other move and just take away 40% of your HP. But a way to counter it, I guess, is to just pressure it. Pressure Shadow the World, as none of its moves have hyper armor other than the knives, so if they try and get out, they're kind of screwed. As well, they might try and mash counter, so try and bait it if you can. Either that or cancel it in M1s. And if you're playing a time stop stand, time stop Shadow the World. They can only move for half a second, which means you get really good value. And considering all the rage time stop stands are now able to time stop without rage, it's a really easy way to kill Shadow the World, or at least take away a lot of its HP. Also, another thing is just GER. Obviously, you can just return to 0 time stop, and there's that. You can just take away one of its best moves. Playing stands with range also really help, or stands that have a lot of knockback, like Killer Queen and Killer Queen Bites to Dust. Something you can do is barrage bait. You can barrage for a second and hold block, and usually stand combo comes out like half a second afterwards, so you have ample time to block. And hopefully after that, their pressure's gone. You can just use any move you want afterwards. Now obviously that's situational, depends on ping, blah blah blah, but as long as you get stand combo out of their kit by barrage baiting, you honestly should be golden. Now the only thing to worry about is time stop then, and if you're smart and be patient and wait, or just pressure them loads, you should be fine. All I can say is don't let Shadow the World stress you out. It's very easy to let the M1s and high damage take away a lot of your HP and you get scared and want to pose and run. But as it goes for many stands, just don't flail and don't panic. Shadow the World has no native guard break, so you can just hold F against it, especially if they're Vampire. They literally have 0 guard breaks if they play Vampire. So if a Shadow the World is stressing you out and playing very aggressive, it is okay to hold block and get out. Now, I can't really think of any other ways to fight against it or counter it, so I'll let that be the end of this section. If you feel like I've missed anything out, feel free to comment down below. Now, as I just said, I feel like I've finished with this section, and I'm going to move on to the final thoughts. So, my final thoughts on this stand are, it's really fun to play, maybe not so fun to fight. I mean, if you're a time stop stand or you're GER, you're going to have a really fun time fighting it, but if you don't have anything to do with time stop, you might be doomed. Obviously, this is just like the first 2 weeks of the stand coming out, so things might change in the future. Either way, if you haven't played the stand yet, I really recommend you trying to play it. It's really fun. It's not that hard to obtain if that's something you're worried about, and even if that's the case, I think it's still worth playing. Its stand combo alone makes it really fun to play in teams, as it stuns the player for a good enough time for your teammates to come in and help, as well as Shadow the World and GER being a fantastic pair in any team-based mode. If we get more stands like this, the game's future is looking very, very bright, as this is a very fun stand to play. Now, before the video ends, I want to shout out the people in my community post that gave me suggestions on what to talk about. I really appreciate it. You helped me collect my thoughts better and make sure I wasn't biased when saying anything, as I did test for this stand, so I didn't want to make sure I was saying the wrong thing. So thank you to you guys. And with that, the video's over. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. If you want to see more of these, comment below, like, subscribe, do whatever. And I'll see you soon.